Just taking, there we go. And
It
we are
takes a while.
live. Yeah, we are live, first time. So welcome to the CUSF podcast / videocast, because we were doing these more and more as video. My name's Swally Swede. With me, we've got Prez, Dave. Say hi, Dave.
Howdy.
And guest tonight, we got Kelly and we got Travis.
Hello.
Hey.
Kelly and Travis, who are you people?
I'm Kelly.
You have your own podcast, right?
Yeah, I do. So you want to know a little bit about my background? Is that kind of what you wanted from me?
Yes. And I just realized you have a dog behind you. I'm going to ask about that later on.
Two. So you'll see them actually do some stuff, and people watch. It's part of the entertainment.
There you go.
So yeah. So I am one of the co-hosts for Slamfire Radio, which is one of the best podcasts in Canada for firearms. So if you haven't actually already started listening to it, listen to it. We have some great guests on. We've actually had both Travis and Dave on previously as well. So also in my real life where I get paid, I actually am a peace officer with Corrections Canada. So I do that. That's actually what pays the bills. In my part-time job, kind of, I actually am one of the founders directors for Project Mapleseed. So actually, I travel across the country and put on events for that. The other thing that I also like to do is I also actually am an advocate for firearms. So I am the VP of Women's Programs for the CCFR. So actually, I help organize events for ladies across the country, and then also facilitate, getting more women into shooting by actually doing fundraisers, different things like that as well. So that's me.
So we've got a couple of gun rights groups. CCFR is, I know the two biggest ones, both say they're the biggest ones, but the CCFR is the biggest one.
They're the most active. Yeah, they're the most active on social media and other
definitely agree to that.
Right? Yeah.
Okay, and Travis, who are you?
I'm the programs director with CUSF. So I started volunteering with them in 2019, probably a year and a half ago or so. Mm-hmm. And we moved into this position in the late summer. So I'm responsible for putting on all the clinics, competitions, bugging Kelly to try and get Mapleseed's range, that kind of thing. So in everyday life, I'm a geologist. I work for my wife's dad's construction company, managing pits and quarries. And love firearms. So want to volunteer as much as I can to help people.
Basically my origin story as well with this organization. So tonight we're going to talk about guns, specifically rifles. We just did an episode on shotguns and shotgun sports. That episode is coming up shortly on the YouTube page and on podcast streaming services. I think Spotify is the one we use the most. So today I thought we'd talk about rifles. I used to be a correctional officer.
Before we get into it here, Swally. Yeah. Yep. So I'd like to thank all of our wonderful sponsors that make sports shooting possible and cheap and really just lower the barrier to entry at the university level. So we our four headline sponsors, or five, sorry, Beretta, Cabela's Outdoor Fund, the Vortex Canada, Stittsville Shooting Range, and the Safari Club International Foundation Canada. So big thanks to all of them for supporting us and just making what we do possible.
Big thanks indeed. Look at the fancy stuff we get. I know a lot of this obviously wouldn't be possible without sponsorship. We're very much a grassroots organization, but this shit's not free. Specifically rifles. I want to talk a little bit about pros and cons. I'm a rifle guy. I've got both my restricted and non-restricted, but I'm keeping it to non-restricted rifles. I have my own reasons. I thought we could discuss pros and cons of those. Like Kelly, I used to be a correctional officer, where you're currently in. I'm about 5 years out right now. I spent most of my time provincially, some federal. In federal, we do carry firearms. Maybe Kelly, you can clarify something for me. Is it the C8 or the AR-15
C8
that we have? It is the C8. It's a semi-automatic only, though, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's similar to the RCMP C8 semi-auto only. Okay, I talked about it in a different episode, but I couldn't quite remember which one it was. Fun gun to shoot. little bit of a hot topic these days. Maybe we'll get into that. We'll see how we feel. So, Kelly, do you shoot competitively or anything?
Well, in my free time.
Yeah, I know, right?
Which is fun. Yeah, so I actually do shoot competitively as well. I at least try to, anyways. A lot of the past year, especially, or the last couple of years, I've been doing more and more of the instructing and more of the events for not only Mapleseed but also for the women's events as well. So most of my time is filled with that, but I try to actually shoot competitively as well. Unfortunately, with the OIC, some of the firearms that we actually were able to use for competition are no longer available to be used. Like, for example, the AR-15, you can't take it to the range. We can't actually shoot it. But I do shoot competitively with some of the rimfire calibers.
Yep.
So 1022, I have a nice one that's been pimped out. It's been about about $3,000 on it. So that's how you get all the upgrades, right?
Just out of interest, because I have one at home. What stock did you put on that?
So it's a Magpul. It's the X22 Hunter Stock. So it's fantastic. The reason that I really, really like it is because it basically it's like Lego, right? You can actually adjust the cheek piece and all that. You can actually put it in an MDT chassis as well, but it's a little bit cheaper for. When I say I spent $3,000 on it, but it's like basically, so the Magpul stock is something that I really actually endorse. And if somebody, if they ask me about what I recommend, I'll say go get a for your 1022. Anyways, I say go get a Magpul stock for it. Yeah, nice. Travis, did you try it out? Did you use it?
I didn't get to use yours. No.
Yeah. Okay.
We were pretty pressed for time that day. So.
Yeah. I was just wondering if you did.
You guys geographically are pretty close.
Yeah, we are. So I actually saw Travis up in Stittsville, actually, at one of our events there so it was a Mapleseed event that the QSIF actually was hosting. And so Travis was on the line as well, and he shot really, really well, actually. Got his rifleman patch. But I had my gun there, and it's basically my gun is something that I fine tune it, and some of the sponsors also add stuff to it as well, or they donate it. So I get
all of that.
So the shooters actually have the opportunity, and I actually want people to shoot it, try it out. So that's basically that. But I didn't know if you had an opportunity to shoot it or not. So.
No, next time though. I want to try that trigger.
I know, eh? So I have a Timony trigger, and it's the 1.5 pounds. That's it. So it's single stage, no creep whatsoever. So it is. It's a really, really nice trigger on it. So
that's one of the best ways. I think
$400 trigger on a $400 base gun, right?
It's $400.
Yeah, it's $400 for the trigger group itself. Yeah.
Crazy.
So
I like cheap stuff. That's why I shoot rimfire. That's crazy though. But yeah, no, I was just thinking about this podcast this morning when I was at work. I think rifles is usually the most common way people get into shooting. It's usually borrowing a friend's rifle, and it's one of those things where you try it because then you can't describe how fun it is until you actually start shooting something. And then I think secretly everybody that picks up a rifle for the first time, they just really hope that they have some insane secret talent they never knew, where they think that they're just inherently really good at shooting. Myself, I'm happy with hitting paper. I've never been too much into the crazy accuracy. Dave and I spoke in an early episode about I used to be in the military, and I mentioned back then it was more volume than accuracy that mattered.
Volume or accuracy through volume, right?
I know. Just keep the other people's heads down. So Travis, same question. What kind of shooting do you typically do?
A little bit of everything. So I like rifles. It's my favorite thing to shoot. And originally with rifles, I wanted to get into long range shooting. So I started with a Remington 700. And of course, I'm one of the odd lefties. So I have to got a left-handed bolt-action rifle, and then looking at it, it's like, I got this rifle, and then, oh, well, you have to put a chassis on it, and you have to do this, and you have to do that. So then, it adds up pretty quick. And I ended up moving on to some other things, mostly just because of time. And now I love shooting just my 22. I got the 1022, and I've done the Magpul stock and a couple other the modifications that like the usual 1022 mods, and it's just a pile of fun to shoot. Like I go down into the quarries that we manage, and go to 300 yards and try and hit
That's
stuff.
an awesome hookup.
Yeah,
you work in firing ranges basically.
Pretty much, yeah. So it's awesome. We can go down, we can, launch clays and shoot them, or blow up tannerite, or
nice.
Rifles. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. But yeah, seeing how far you can stretch your 22 it's a fun challenge.
How far out have you got?
About 300 yards. We were
that's
hitting,
not bad.
We were hitting clays at 300 yards or so. So you have to aim like 20 feet high.
Yeah. What kind of vortex scope are you planning on putting on there?
Whatever one they give me.
Yeah. No, we'll turn the screws on them.
Yeah. Right now I have a loophole on it. I had to steal it off my hunting rifle. It's a 3.5 to 12 times scope, I think.
Okay, and you hunt as well, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
Around here we're not allowed to use rifles, unfortunately. But
Okay, this is something I was talking to a friend of mine at work who hunts. I'm potentially getting into hunting. I did my hunting course this summer. He said he asked me if I can't remember how he phrased it. If I was going like full, I'm Swedish. He said if I was going full Scandinavian with my hunting, because typically up north we spend twice the price of the gun on the scope.
Yeah.
Is that something you've found?
Yeah, I mean, good optics pay for themselves. Usually you want it to be equal, I guess, at least to the price of the gun. But I usually look for something that has a lifetime warranty. And
Vortex does.
Yeah, Vortex does. Loophole does. Bushnell does. But
I'm trying to up your sponsor.
I know. We'll throw some names in and see what shows up in the mail.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't think you guys can see this, but I've got the chat screen up next to me here, and Doug, I'm going to mispronounce this. Rodenbush says hi. He says Dave smile. Delano says clean your room, Dave.
Never.
Yeah.
Who's your mom?
Okay. And then Dave, we've talked about you lots. You also hunt. Remind me, what rifle did you take hunting? You were out looking for deer the other week.
Yeah, Marlin 336 lever action.
Lever action. Oh. Hardcore.
Yeah.
Or old school, I should say.
Good. Well, good for hunting, right? Nice and compact, and easy to lug around the bush. So.
Fair enough. I know a lot of the restricted are kind of on the ban list right now, but do you guys have any that you would suggest people try out? Just talking about the restricted right now, going. Let me rephrase this. When I spoke to different people, different episodes, I'm talking about entry level guns to get into. A lot of people, it's my impression that a lot of people get both licenses when they go get licensed. So speaking strictly restricted guns right now, is there anything that Kelly or Travis you guys would recommend for a new shooter?
I think there's not a lot to choose from right now.
No, there's not.
Everything's been banned. That's fun.
So if you're looking,
I know that what's it called? The Tavor? I might be mispronouncing that.
Tavor.
Yeah, the Tavor. Apparently that one's still around.
Hasn't been banned yet.
Yeah.
So.
The AR-15 obviously was king. Oh yeah, as prices going up.
Like they did as soon as everything was banned, your selection went down to just a few.
Right. So people are switching over to the SKS. They're also switching over to the WK-180. They're also looking at, you can do straight pulls, like those are actually non-restricted, because basically you have to actually pull the charging handle every time that you actually fire a shot. So there's companies out there that are making AR-esque, and I shouldn't actually say that because but basically it's a bolt action gun. So there's those are available as well now on the market as well, but they're not semi-autos, so they're actually not restricted. So
yeah, true enough. I give a lot of my example. I'm pretty new into the gun world, but I've been in the motorcycle world for a while, and I give a lot of examples for motorcycles. And Harley is king, and a lot of the Jap makers, they make their bikes to look and sound like Harleys. And I think the AR-15 is king, especially in North America. And a lot of makers, they build stocks and build guns to
well, that's actually what the OIC, when they took the OIC, they actually used the AR-15 in any of the variants as well. So for example, your Steg 10, you got your Modern Varminter as well, the ATRS, they actually banned those as well. What are we talking about, ban guns right now, or we were talking about
is there really that much taken off the restricted? I don't want to, I'm trying to keep it on rifles and not get into the politics. And the OIC is still pending.
No. There's actually a lot of them. Travis was mentioning there's not a lot of options out there right now if you actually do want to actually take something that is that type of rifle out, basically. They're nice. They're sitting in my safe. Nice and just sitting in my safe, right? So, yeah.
It is what it is. It's a bit unfortunate. Okay, so same question, non-restricted then. Travis or Kelly, what would you recommend for a non-restricted first rifle? These would obviously be a lot cheaper.
First rifle?
Usually. First rifle, new shooter, what would you go by? What would you tell somebody?
1022.
1022.
Everybody wants their first stock. They want to go get a center fire, right? But if you can learn your fundamentals on a 22, that's going to get you a lot further. You can shoot a lot more because it's more affordable. And the margin of error is a lot greater because you'll get better at the fundamentals by shooting 22 than you will at 308. And you're a lot less likely to develop a flinch, which once you learn that, it's really hard to unlearn.
So the other thing that I'm going to suggest is actually go and get a 22, but also actually go get some training, basically some lessons. It doesn't matter even if it's a cheap rifle, you're going to do better if you actually have the fundamentals underneath of you and you can actually shoot that. I've seen people actually go out and buy, well, their 22 market right now in Canada is like huge, and people are spending, like, I'm talking tens of $1,000s on their 22s now. Right.
I just spoke to a lady 4 minutes ago who spent $3,000 on hers.
Yeah, I know. Me. But I'm just saying, like, you can go out and buy the best of everything and still not have the fundamentals under you, and you're going to miss. So go and, or you can spend, $250 on, like, a Savage 64 and it's on sale or whatever, and get some of the training, and you're actually going to hit every time. So it's like, go get the training first, get a cheap gun, go get the training first, and then actually you can start doing the other stuff, like building a rifle that is actually your favorite rifle. So it's $3,000 or whatever. So I actually agree with Travis 100%. Start with a 22, and it means you can actually get a lot of shooting in. It's super cheap, like the ammo, right? It's super cheap. It's like, depends on what you actually are shooting. A box of ammo will cost you anywhere from $5 to $15, and also, but the other thing is also too, if you're going to go and buy a rifle, make sure that you actually buy some different brands of ammo and see what works for your rifle too. So. Just
came up in the chat here as well. Somebody suggested my next rifle, the Swedish Mauser. According to Zane here, it pulls half-inch groups and they cost $400. Zane, message me if you know where there's a $400 Swedish Mauser, please. Not in a rush to buy one, but I do really, really want to have one. I used to shoot them when I was younger. Okay, so that brings me to, we might as well talk about military surplus then. That's it. As far as I know, they're all non-restricted. The SKS would come closest to in whatever configuration people build them, but they're still non-restricted.
Yeah, they are.
Completely fine, right?
Yeah, they are. But the price on them has skyrocketed. You know that, right?
Yeah, I heard. Is it kind of the same thing in conjunction with the OIC? They went up as well.
Well, you can't. Yeah, because you can't actually shoot your AR-15, so people are wanting SKSs or Type 81s. Type 81s also are basically everybody bought them all up, and they're not bringing any more in too. So like, it's kind of like.
Well, that's the other thing, imports as well, because I the first rifle I looked at when I got my license was the Mauser Nagant. And I took too long in not buying one because they were relatively cheap. And there's actually a place pretty close to me that sells them. They don't have a storefront, but they're located where I live. But the Mauser Nagants have gone up like $100, $200 in the last year or two. And I guess that's also because of where they come from, whatever sanctions is against Russia and stuff. If the availability is there or not.
And even like I know a lot of the surplus stores are drying up. Like the Czechs are pretty much done, and the Czechs are importing their own surplus now for their civilian market because they sold it all off, right?
No kidding.
And like a lot of it goes to Africa as well too, right? Because it's all 7.62. So
yeah. I personally prefer non-restricted just because it's a shame to say, but I gotta say I'm somebody who leans a little bit more towards a light gun control. I understand that it does make a bit of a difference and keep most of us safe. That being said, I like non-restricted because it's just too much of a hassle with restricted guns, in my opinion. It's too
all non-restricted.
We can try. Maybe next election we'll see how it goes. I like just packing up a rifle and going to the range. I may or may not get a handgun. I think if I got a handgun, my wife would definitely want a couple of handguns as well. She shoots as well. She used to be Canadian Forces. But to me, I just enjoy going. I don't need... I don't know. I don't shoot competitively. I understand, what's it called? The 3-gun competitions. I think they were probably, out of all the shooting sports, were hit the hardest with the OIC because the AR-15 was probably what most people used.
With 3-gun, they've opened it up, so it's basically bring anything you got. Adriel is one of the co-hosts that I actually have on Slamfire Radio, and he actually is huge into 3-gun, especially in Alberta. It's actually quite popular there. East Coast, not as much. But in Alberta, Saskatchewan, 3-gun is huge, and so what they've actually had to do is they've switched it out to different categories. So they've added the pistol carbine as well. So people can actually use pistol caliber to shoot it, or they can actually use their 22. So they can take their 10-22 and actually use it for 3-gun, and it's just basically they put a new category in because basically people can't. Yeah,
well, I mean, life must go on, right?
Yeah.
I remember asking when the OIC first came out about 22 caliber 3-gun competitions, and I didn't get a lot of info back. But that's the first I've heard of that. That's pretty good.
So other competitions, like for example, service rifle has been canceled. Well, COVID impacted all of this as well. So, but they're trying to figure out what to do with it too. There's a lot of competitions out there that are now called it used to be everything but an AR, and it was like fun. People would bring out their military surplus. Well, now it's everything but an AR because they're no longer allowed to shoot their ARs. So everybody's bringing out their military surplus, right? Okay. So, but it's kind of like gun owners are like the Marines. We're overcoming and adapting. Also, the people that are in Canada who actually manufacture firearms, they're overcoming and adapting as well, and they're bringing out other forms of firearms that actually don't fit within that criteria that are being banned. So it's like they're trying to provide a service for Canadians, basically, right? So Maple Ridge Armory is one of the companies that actually is manufacturing firearms that you can use in a 3-gun. It's going to be a straight pull, but you know what? You can still be competitive with it, right? Yeah.
I was saying, I think Dave and I were talking off air one day, and I said I would love to take a Swedish Mauser down in one of those 3-gun competitions.
You should.
That thing. Yeah. When I get one, I'm going to sign up. I don't care if I fucking hit anything.
That's what it's about. You should.
Yeah. I used to. We have a. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think it's really a testament to like how I guess active and alive our shooting sports are these days, that there's just such a demand for all these firearms. Like the government can go in and enforce their rules arbitrarily, but they're still like people still want to go out to these competitions. You know what I mean? And the manufacturers obviously, exactly.
Yeah. I got a comment here on the Swedish Mauser. Zane, reference to that gun. I'm talking about this Swede. Can't hit anything. I'm sure the Mauser will do just fine. I've got my main gun right now is a Savage 22, and I've got iron sights on it, completely stock, because in my opinion, that gun is still out shooting me. It's not limiting me yet. So that's why I haven't put any bells and whistles on it. Also, I'm a little cheap. But
gotta get out and take a Mapleseed.
Yeah, if you want to if you want any recommendations what to change out on it, let me know. But yeah.
Okay, so Mapleseed has come out a couple of times now. So why don't we explain for the people watching and listening, what is Mapleseed, Project Mapleseed?
Okay, so Project Mapleseed is so we're an apolitical organization, but and we're not for profit, all volunteer run. We're a national program. What we do is we put on events for Canadians. We are modeled after Project Appleseed, which is a program that's down in the U.S. The one down in the U.S. has been running about 13, 14 years now, and they put through about 100,000 people a year. So that's a lot of people. It's basically the fundamentals of marksmanship. We teach people proper positioning. We teach people how to actually fire a perfect shot. And then we actually teach people how to use their natural point of aim, working with their body, basically. We use slings because basically what we're doing is we're teaching people to, again, use their body, but not only that, like, first thing I ask people when they come to an event is how many people actually have zeroed the rifle, and everybody typically will raise their hands. How many people actually zeroed the rifle on a bench, and everybody raises their hands. I'm going, how many people are planning to take that bench with you when you go out hunting? And everybody goes, no, not me, all right? So it's about building. So the program's all about building stability, accuracy, and being able to repeat that shot, marksmanship, basically. But it's with using a sling, and as I said, those three things that we teach people. So
100%.
Yeah. So everybody, as Travis took the program, it's a long day, right, Travis?
Yeah, it's definitely a full day. Like you described it as drinking from a fire hose. So there's a lot of information, but it's definitely a course I would recommend.
Thanks.
I'm an okay shot, but it's definitely made me way better just the one time I've taken it, and I'll definitely do it again next time they come around. So, we were thinking internally in CUSF, we wanted to start doing clinics, and I said, well, why don't we partner with Project Mapleseed? Why reinvent the wheel, right? So they do it. From everything I had heard up to that point, it was a A+ course that everybody speaks really highly of. So, that's kind of where our partnership originated, and I think it's really beneficial, especially for the university age shooters, to get out there and get, like you said, it's proper instruction, and it doesn't cost an arm and a leg. You're not for profit, so it's and with CUSF we're able to help students out, covering some of the cost of that course too. So
nice. So some of the events that we had some students come out, and once they actually came out, I think they're starting to spread the word to each other, right? So people, I was getting contacted. I had people attending events that weren't actually CUSF events, and they actually had already attended another event, and they wanted to actually attend another event on top of that. As Travis said, it's like drinking from a fire hose. Like, we give a lot of information, and even I've had people actually who have been military snipers on the line, right? And they're going, this is the stuff that we actually teach, or this is, or I've had somebody who was shooting competitively for 35 years, and he also actually shot with military as well. And he's going, holy crap. He came in thinking, what can these people teach me? Or right? And by the end of it, he said, I was so happy that I actually took the program, and I'll recommend it to everybody. It's like, it's going back to the basics, basically. We're going to actually build you up and then set you free out into the, right? It's a great program, especially for people who are new shooters that actually haven't built any bad habits. And the people that have built bad habits, they come to it. And then it's a little bit harder for them to actually wrap their head around some of the stuff. So, but yeah. And the other part of it that I really actually like is we're seeing more and more women on the line too. So we're seeing usually at every event, so it's small events. It's about 15 people. 15 people is our max. That's what we limit it to, because we actually want to make sure that people, number one priority for all of our events is safety. But we also want the instructor, with the
instructor-student ratio.
To student ratio. Yeah. Now, the one that Travis was at, we only had 3 instructors, but we only had 10 people on the line. So it's still, the next day we had actually 7 instructors and we had 10 people on the line.
Jesus.
So it was almost one-on-one. But basically, so basically it's all about safety first, and then we start looking at just the fundamentals, and then we build you up from there. So as Travis said, he's been shooting for a while. I usually get a lot of emails or a lot of messages afterwards, and people say, you know what, I feel more confident in hunters, they say, I feel more confident in taking that shot. It's an ethical kill, right?
Absolutely. I was going to say it's about ethics, really. Like you want to bring the animal down in one shot.
Yeah, exactly.
And okay, so Travis, how long ago did you take this?
In October.
Okay. So I promise not to tell Kelly. I'm going to wink here. How did you find it? What were some expectations going in, and what were some thoughts leaving it?
Like I said before, from everything I'd heard about it, people speak pretty highly of the program. You can look at it how quickly they sell out. So it's in pretty high demand. So I had pretty high expectations, and they met everything. Like I said, they explain it to you in ways that are easy to understand. They show you, they tell you, they explain to you. So you're if you're having trouble on the line, they'll come adjust it. One important thing is getting the rifle to fit you properly. Having the proper length pull and the proper cheek weld. So they address that quickly and easily with some tape.
There you go.
And anybody who takes it, like Kelly said, doesn't matter your experience level. Whether we had one girl on the line, she was brand new shooter, and we had other people who had been shooting. And I think everybody will take something away from it.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yep. Yeah. No. After this, when we're done recording, I'll grab the link and I'll put it in the show notes for the episode.
Cool.
So we can plug that.
I used my sling deer hunting this year, so that helps.
That's good.
There you go. Any thought while talking about rifles? I think rifle, more than any other kind of gun, has a lot of different calibers. We mentioned the 22s, the 308 came up as well. What are your guys' preferred calibers, and why?
Other than 22, my hunting rifle, because I'm a lefty, is a lever action. It's a 308. So it's a Browning BLR. Most lever actions have round bullets in them because they're tube fed, and you have the bullets lined up end to end. Well, Browning did some magic, and they developed a magazine fed lever action gun. So you can use pointy ended bullets. So you're limited in your range with round bullets. I like 308. So that's the caliber I got, and it's a lever action because I'm a lefty, so it's ambidextrous. I'm right-handed, but left eye dominant, so I do everything left-handed.
Okay, because I was going to ask, because a friend of mine, he's a left-hand shot as well, and he asks once in a while for pointers and for tips about left-hand guns and stuff. Yeah,
you can get exclusively left-handed bolt-action rifles, but I'm not left-handed, so I can probably operate a bolt faster with my right hand than I can with my left. But with a lever, it's pretty straightforward.
Really? Okay. So how about this? When you kick a football, what foot do you kick with?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So right,
right-handed. Play hockey and golf left-handed. Shoot left-handed. I shoot pistol right-handed, but I hold it over my left hand or my left eye. Yeah. Yeah, it's messed up. But for bolt action, I have a bolt action 223 rifle. It's a Savage, and I do. It's a right-handed rifle.
Yeah.
And I prefer shooting bolt actions right-handed, but for hunting, that is a bit problematic.
Yeah, true enough.
So the gun world is actually made for right-handed people. It's not made for left-handed people. You're limited in any rifles that you have to research it, right? You can get guns that are specifically made for you that are left-handed, but most of them are right-handed. So you have to adjust for that. So if it's a bolt action, we're seeing actually a lot more people with cross-eye dominance, and specifically with women. Women have a higher ratio of it. I don't know why, but
really, I wonder if it's a left-right brain thing, because I know one side's artistic, the other's logic, or something like that. Maybe there's
I don't.
something in there.
It's just us. So if it's an adult, what we'll do is actually typically I'll tape somebody's glasses.
Mhm.
So you're actually forced to use your non-dominant eye. Travis is just weird that way. But if it's a kid, I'll try them out with switching the dominant hands because they haven't had a lot of time to actually build in that dominance in their hand.
Right.
But anyways, Travis is actually overcoming it and he's adapting. So
You just have to deal with brass coming across in front of you. That's the major
guess, yeah.
thing. It doesn't really bother me. But
You guys want to hear a bad joke? You guys want to hear a bad joke about shooting?
sure.
Have you ever tried shooting blindfolded? You don't
Uh,
know what you don't know what you're missing.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's a bad joke.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure. We're about half an hour in. We've got a couple of viewers in. We've got a lot of comments. Zane is still plugging the Swedish Swedish Mausers. Doug is mentioning Mapleseed events are also great fun, good place to meet new friends. Doug has attended 5 events and has yet to see anybody go away without a smile on their face.
Oh, I've seen a couple of people.
Well, for everybody, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys have a really good reputation in terms of pretty much everybody I've talked to. They've really had nothing good to say. I mean, it's such a valuable service, especially nothing but good things. Sorry.
Okay.
But like, especially coming from like the student background, we find a lot of or at least a good portion of the students in our student clubs, they come from perhaps not a gun background in their family, like they didn't have any mentorship or anybody to teach them how to shoot, so they get their pal and they're like, what do I do, right? So it's really a great service for these people that don't have somebody to mentor them and teach them the ropes, right?
Yeah. What I typically see is like we went into an event in Tin Cap. It was in Brockville. Travis, you were there. It was the Carleton University shooting event, and I was there. And I actually brought my 1022. And you know what, you guys, university age students, they're so eager. They like the cool guns though. They'll buy the cool guns. But I let them try my rifle. But you have some really good shooters, especially once they actually got a little bit more instruction as well, and they just absorb the material. What we like to do is we like to take a little piece of information. We do adult learning, basically guided learning. We'll do a point of instruction, and then we'll ask you to go and shoot it, and then take another piece and add it on top of it. And that's exactly what people university age students, that's actually how they best learn, right, basically. But yeah, like, we're super excited about our partnership with QSIF as well. Like, it's the next generation of shooters, and that's the only way we're going to actually be able to keep our sport alive, is basically bringing in new shooters, especially those, like, let's be real, right? The next little while, specifically, those are the new voters and everything too. So let's get some people in and shoot, and then we can actually have all the guns we want, and all the non-restricted and all the restricted are coming back too. Or that's my hope.
For sure, yeah. So
I like my rifles.
Education, right? Show them who
Yeah,
you really are.
Right.
And the one thing I noticed with students too, that at that range that we had, it's like every demographic of students is there. It's a complete mix of everybody, and like you said, everybody's willing to learn. Out of the 40 students, everybody was following instruction, being safe. And I went on the school bus at the end of the day and asked, like, if we ran this again, would you come out? And the whole bus erupted, like, absolutely.
Wait, school bus? How old were these kids?
No, we chartered a school bus from Ottawa to Brockville, so it was like an hour and a half.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, and what ages were these kids that were shooting?
It'd be like 18 to 20.
Oh fuck! Oh, I'm thinking 12-year-olds.
Oh, no, they're all the university aged.
Yeah.
Carleton, Ottawa, Algonquin.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit more about rifle sport. Now, I know we mentioned the 3-gun. There's a couple that you brought up as well. Service rifle. I'm not familiar with that one, although it sounds like I want to try it.
Yeah, okay, so service rifle is basically, it was actually a competition that our military put on, and then civilians were able to shoot it and basically go to head with our military. And it's typically at military ranges. One here is in Connaught. It's the national where they have the nationals. So then you also have CQB, which is the close quarters combat, and it is something that is done with both the rifle and a pistol, and that's across the country. By the way, there's a new competition coming out with that because you can't use the ARs anymore for CQB, and also military ranges are no longer opened because of COVID to the civilians. So they're actually starting a rimfire CQB series, and you're going to be able to use your rimfire rifle.
For cheap fuckers like me.
So yeah, that's going to be happening too. It's super exciting. They're going to do it on private land. So the person that's going to be doing that is Barney Go on Facebook, but he's also a tactical teacher in CGN. If you want to go in there and have a look at that, he's going to be setting up it's basically training schedule, and you can use your rimfire. So you can use 1022 and just give her. So what typically you do actually is you get your plate carrier on, you got your Molly vest and everything, and then you got your pimped out 1022.
Yeah, I just wear the gear. Wear the gear. You bring your pea shooter.
Yeah. So
I honestly, I knocked the 22s, but I absolutely love them because they're so cheap to run.
Yeah, and then there's the other competitions. So there's ORPS, which is the Outlaw Rimfire Series. So it's basically, again, you're taking a rimfire and it's at standard ranges, and you shoot from anywhere from I think it's it is 25 meters out to 100. Okay, like at Stittsville, they actually out at a bonus stage where you're shooting out to 300. There's also CRPS, which is the Canadian Rimfire Precision Series. It's PRS, so it's Precision Rifle Series. So you actually are shooting off of all kinds of cool things like tank barricades. You're shooting off of like a ladder or whatever, and it's just it is so awesome. And again, that one actually goes out to past 300, so you're going to have to use some skill with that. There's basically rimfire right now is just catching fire, and the reason is because the other guns you can't really shoot them, right? So rimfire is just basically taking off. So yeah.
That's awesome. I like the functional shooting. You know, when you want to speak
to.
Yeah, I was going to say, Rick invited the CUSF to be involved in CRPS this year, which is interesting. Awesome. So one thing we're finding with students is there's a whole bunch of students who are interested in a bunch of different things, right? So, some might be interested in bench rest, some might be interested in long range. So to be able to offer them another avenue, like I said, getting out to 300 with a 22, it can be a bit challenging. Be a lot challenging.
It's a lot challenging when you're on a time and you're shooting off an unstable barricade, right? So, it's another avenue
that we can promote our shooting sports with the university students. So hopefully we'll get that partnership set up and rolling this summer.
That's a good idea.
Get students involved in CRPS.
Yep.
Yeah. And like you mentioned as well, Kelly, and also Travis, I think the fundamentals are very transferable. But like you said as well, Kelly, like you're not bringing a bench into the bush. Like I shoot almost exclusively. I was going to say I spend most of my time standing, and then once in a while I do kneeling. At my range, the range I'm at right now, we're not allowed to do prone. But that's how I shot. The government taught me to shoot. That's how I've always shot. Sitting on a bench, I might as well just move it. I mean, to each their own. But sitting on a bench shooting, I might as well just move the target closer. As far as I'm concerned, I like having building the skill, and I find the breathing so much more important when you're doing this with every breath. And it adds that little bit of difficulty, but just makes it so much sweeter when you start to get it, I think.
Yeah.
And once you add a time element to that too, it completely changes things as well, right? It's like or do that at the Mapleseed, right? Like you're like, hey, I got this. Okay, now do it in 55 seconds. I got like
and
10 shots off, right?
And do shift and change, make change. We actually like to play with people and their minds. That's all it is, right? Because actually, when you're so let's say you are hunting, right? And you have to take a follow-up shot. It's It's
Yeah, you need to get it quick before that.
Get it off
before that whitetail's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, I'm big fan of more functional shooting. I remember in the military we had different guns. We don't have a scoped rifle, but we still you know I don't know if you can relate to this, Travis, shooting off the wrong hand, but I remember when we practiced left hand shooting for when you're shooting around obstacles, like say you're in around a building or whatever, you got to shoot off the wrong rifle, and you just used to bringing the gun up to the one eye. That you just out of habit try and bring it up. You always end up punching yourself in the face with the rifle until you kind of start breaking that habit and using the other eye. I remember that was always fun when you catch yourself doing that.
It's easier to do if it's not scoped, though, right? If you're using iron sights.
Yeah, and I've always shot. I've borrowed friends' guns before I got my license to got my own guns. I've shot scope a couple of times, but in the military it was always iron sights, and corrections always iron sights. So that's kind of.
Yeah. If somebody says somebody's escaping, just hold on a second.
I know, right? We're going to just dial it in here real quick. Yeah, no, that's not happening. You just start fucking peppering. Start peppering until something happens.
Just hold on. Just give me a minute.
I miss jail. I miss talking to the guards.
Yeah. I'm kind of the opposite. I love scoped rifles. I don't like really shooting irons.
But you said you like stretching that rifle out, right?
Yeah, if I can. But I mean, like there are some people who will shoot irons at 400 or 500 meters. Mm-hmm. But I like using a scope. I like precision. I like small groups, and scopes help with that. All right, yeah. So it's all personal preference, and there's no right way. You like shooting irons? Awesome, give her.
Yeah. No, and it's good that there's so much variety in it for different personality styles. Like, I shoot pretty quick because I shoot really cheap ammo in a 22, and then I listen to shooters around me when I'm at the range, and I'm just peppering away. And I remember, I think last time or the time before I went, there was a guy at no, this must have been before. Yeah, it must have been before the OIC, because he had some giant caliber gun there, and we have a timer that you shoot for half an hour at the range, and then they call a ceasefire, and I think he let 1 or 2 shots go in that half an hour. Like, I don't know, like what? I guess if you're shooting really expensive shit, maybe, or if you're right at if you're right at the edge of the range, maybe. But I don't know. I always like volume. Accuracy, that's something that just happens afterwards.
People are different though. So some people just like, let's be real, they just like to make noise, and they will get their hits, but it's based on volume. And then there's other people who are very, like Travis, he says he likes to actually make really small holes and very precise and precision, right? When we're talking precision, we're talking about maybe a 6-inch gong out at 150 meters. So in order to take that, you're going to make sure that everything is dialed in correctly. So it's depending on what it is. There's some, and then you said you don't know what he was shooting, but there's some really nice rifles out there, right? They're extremely nice rifles, and you're going to be able to take it out to a kilometer and a half. Like, look at PGW Defense are building rifles right now for the civilian market, and you can actually fire those out to a kilometer and a half and hit whatever you're actually going to try and hit. Now,
sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, you would probably need a scope for that, and probably something more than a 3-16, right? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, I like the iron sights, and I like standing or kneeling because it adds that little bit of difficulty. But I mean, I don't have to consider things like wind, for example, or how much that bullet's going to drop over the distance, which is a difficulty that other shooters would have to consider. And I know that the 1,000-meter shooters and stuff like that, doing a kilometer, like you were saying, they really get into the math and the science, and to each their own, right? And it's cool that you can do that, and it's pretty amazing that somebody can hit something that far away.
That's the beauty about guns, right? There's something for everybody.
Yeah. And I gotta say, I like the fact that the 22s are going so much more, because shooting is kind of expensive, and really on the gap between rimfire and everything else is quite huge when it comes to cost, and it's a really good
not so much anymore. You can actually buy some really they're called Gucci guns, right? Those are going to cost you quite a bit, but especially if you have a 22 trainer, and it's actually just a replica of something that it's going to be a little bit less expensive for you to actually shoot, because you're going to be shooting rimfire as opposed to actually, 308 or 6.5 Creedmoor or whatever it is, but you're doing the same exact gun, but you're doing it in rimfire. So it depends on what you actually are buying. But go out and buy a cheap one and start with that. Go out and buy a cheap 22 or Savage Axis. Like Cabela's just had them on sale, right? I think it was $350 with a rebate, and then you can actually shoot that and get it in the 223, and then that's actually a cheap caliber for centerfire.
Yeah,
great entry level gun too.
Yeah, it's a perfect gun for somebody who's getting into hunting or anything like that. You can actually just go and buy that and put a cheap scope on it. So that would be a recommendation for centerfire. For somebody who wants to pick one of those up, and you actually want a good utility, Savage Axis has actually got a proven record. And it's cheap as snot, so just buy that, right?
Accurate at the range, accurate in the bush.
Right, and you're going to hit more than with it than your SKS. The SKS is not as accurate, so.
I like to think of the SKS as it's like the Canadian Kalashnikov. It's the one that people pimp out to look like an AK-47.
Well, that's the Type 81. Type 81 is actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but the SKS is so.
I don't know if there are more rifles in Canada that are being used to shoot at rocks in the bush than that rifle.
That's true.
Yeah.
My first gun.
Yeah. Oh, that was your first gun?
Yeah. Oh, SKS.
Yeah.
A couple of my buddies was their first rifles.
I like my 22. I like my bolt actions though. I've always been partial to bolt actions. But that goes back to what I was saying earlier about we're sort of limited to the fun guns. That I'm just not even going down that road. So I that's why I lean more towards the military surplus. I'd like to get a couple of countries worth. Like I want a Swedish Mauser. Apparently the Swiss Mausers are supposed to be really good as well. A friend of mine has one with this really fucking weird straight back pull action. I forget what it's called. I'm gonna have to ask him. And then the Moisen again. I think I mentioned in the first episode we did. I want a Dragoon, which is the little short ones. They were for the cavalry. The Dragoons back in the day, they used to, I guess, pack them on the back or whatever, and that's why they had the shorter rifles. So I'd still would like to get one of those. But they're a bit more expensive to run as well with the ammo and ammunition for the foreign guns. I guess are a little bit more hit and miss as well. Pun not intended. Shooting podcast are a little bit more hit and miss. Just like the rifles, it depends what's being imported and what's being there's trade embargoes and shit.
Yeah. Oh, they've been shooting those calibers over there in Europe for years, right? Like the 6.5 by 55 type ammo, super accurate. Take down anything in Canada if you're using it for hunting, right?
Yeah.
Like it's proven in the Nordic countries it works.
Yeah, and that's what I was looking as well as a dual rifle. I don't want to have a lot. Like I don't know. I'm an asshole gun owner. I don't want to have a lot of guns. I just want a couple that I really like and just get good at shooting those. And I like my 22. My next one is hopefully going to be that Swedish Mauser. And if it's any good or if I'm good with it, then that'd probably be the one I'd try and take hunting.
Yeah. You say that now, Swally, but give it a couple of years.
Yeah, we'll see. I actually, honestly, I had a buddy at work with me yesterday in my truck, and he's a shotgun shot, and I was quizzing him on shotguns because we did that fucking shotgun episode. So I'm like, I think I want a shotgun. So we'll see what happens.
You want a shotgun?
Maybe. No. Go ahead, why? Why? What would you recommend?
Well, I've shopped around. The first one that I got was a Benelli Nova, so get that. It's going to be reliable. It's 12 gauge. I also have. I actually so guns need to fit you. So I bought a gun recently. It was Anatolian Defense. It's a 28 gauge, and I use it all the time now exclusively for my skeet shooting and also for duck hunting. And I can shoot it like nobody's business. And the reason is because it fits me and it's perfect for weight as well. But 28 gauge is like super expensive and you can't find it anywhere. So, but if you want something that it's going to be cheap for you to shoot 12 gauge and just make sure it fits you and then take it out.
That's what Jordan said. He's the captain of, what was it, the Carlton shooting team?
Carlton Shotgun.
Carlton Shotgun team. Yeah, he was on the last episode, and he said, just like we're talking today about everybody should have a 22, he said everybody should have a 12 gauge. Mm-hmm. So I think we're getting a little starter kit going here. I think next episode maybe we'll shoot for handguns. See if we can get some people together to talk about handguns.
Woo!
And then then we'll, I don't know what's next. Artillery, is that legal? Yeah.
Cannon.
Apparently
if it's under 20 millimeters, you can.
Apparently, there's some weird, obscure military shit you can buy. Like, apparently, we can buy tanks in Canada. It's just nobody does.
Actually, yeah, no, you can. Like, you can go onto the military, or you can go on the government surplus. You're on there, aren't you? Yeah. You can go.
I'd like to see the Canadian shooting sports in Canada try and get around this OIC, and they'll open up a category just for like military hardware. Like we're doing a 3-gun with a handgun, a shotgun, and a tank. All right. Well, we're coming up on an hour here. Is there anything we want to mention here that I know we touched on calibers, we touched on restricted, non-restricted, military surplus. Mine says a need for a Swedish Mauser.
Leanne. So if you're talking military surplus, check out M1 Grants or also the Lee Enfields.
The Lee Enfield 4s, that's the previous Canadian Ranger rifle.
Yeah.
I'm kind of interested in that as well. If it's good. I never served in the Canadian military. I know a lot of people over here talk about like how something's military quality, that the general population think, oh, it's military quality, right? But people who were in the military says that just means it's shit. That was not like, I love the Swedish military gear. Like all of my camping gear, tons of it is Swedish military surplus, right? Like we had really good shit back home. So to me, if it's good enough for the military, it's good enough for me. So I want a Lee Enfield as well. That if I stay the course on the military surplus, Swedish Mauser 1, Moisen Dragoon, and I want Lee Enfield number 4. And we'll see. Fuck, it's turning into a bit of a collection here.
Says the guy who wants one gun to do it all. You've already got
I know, right? I know, right? What? Okay, so to wrap up, what is everybody's next gun? That's something I usually ask. Kelly, what are you going to buy next? Or bolt onto your $3,000 22?
No, I'm actually not doing any more upgrades to the. Well, yeah, maybe to the 1022.
No, yeah.
So probably my next gun, and I have to figure out how I'm going to do it, is I'm going to probably venture into the PRS realm with a little bit more substantial something. So we have a couple of sponsors that work with us. So Project Mapleseed has PGW Defense, and that's actually the Coyote is one that I actually would like to get chambered in 6.5 Creedmoor, and then I can go and do a PRS match that I really want to do. So maybe that. I just have to figure out which kit I have to sell first. That's all.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Travis, same question. What's your next gun?
I'm trying to decide between what I want. It's either going to be some sort of over-under shotgun or another 1022 to go into the production division to try and do some QPS.
What is that? What's production division?
So the Rimfire series, they have different divisions, and one of them is production. So your rifle has to be under $500, and I think your scope has to be under $700.
My division right there.
Yeah, well, it keeps everybody on an even playing field, right? Like now, the gun I have would be in probably the open division, but
that would be.
Yeah, but I mean, I can't compete against that. I'd have a lot of fun, which is the number one goal. But they're running $10,000 rigs, and mine is like not anywhere close to that, right? So to be competitive, I'd probably try and do another 1022, just something stock.
Yeah. Once we're done here, I'm going to ask you more about that. That sounds interesting, actually, because my philosophy on guns in general, or life in general, guns specifically, is I'm very much the opposite end of the $10,000 range.
Yeah.
If I can get something for like as close to $1 as possible.
Free's better than not free, right?
Exactly. Just make sure. Yeah, your gun, no matter what it is going to be better. It's going to be shoot more accurately than you are, right? So invest the money where you should be investing it, basically.
Yeah.
But then again, it's always nice to have really nice parts on your gun.
Ooh, shiny. But yeah, no, like you were saying as well, it depends what kind of shooting. The precision guys, I'm sure they spend, and girls spend an insane amount of money on their kit. And like I mentioned, this guy I saw at the range, whenever it was I saw him, he had some weird stand he was zeroing his rifle in on, and yeah, that's his bag. All right. I think that's it. We happy there? Another quick shout out to our sponsors. Thank you for helping us out with this.
One thing.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Before we end,
we
have
go
the
ahead.
rifle competition coming up for USF.
Yeah.
Right, so we're running beginning of January until the end of February. You can shoot some targets and print them off at home. Targets are provided by Project Mapleseed, so you get to practice your natural point of aim, and you can do it at your own range, score it, email it. There's a bunch of awesome prizes, including some admissions to Mapleseeds. We got some stuff from Cabela's, ear protection, eye protection, stuff like that. Maybe some other stuff. We'll see, but it's coming up. It's free to enter. You just need a CUSF membership, and we want to try and get as many people involved as possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
My suggestion is the people who submit my suggestion is the people who submit the worst targets are the ones that win the Mapleseed.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah,
just work your way up from the bottom.
Yeah. No, I'm kidding.
Cabela's, that's a sponsor of ours, right, Dave?
Yes, sir.
That's right.
Big
okay,
thanks,
and
big shout out. Cabela's.
And I was going to say membership. Yeah, go with the sponsors. Go with the sponsors.
Beretta, Vortex, Stittsville Shooting Ranges, Fire Club International. Sorry, Swally, go ahead.
I was going to say membership. We're at what, $30 for a non-student, $10 for a student for CUSF membership.
Yeah, and we're increasing that in the new year, so get it now.
Yeah, and
it's worth it. It's for a good cause.
To any of the competitions as well, right? So you buy it once for the year, and you can enter any of our competitions with that membership.
Any of our competitions, any of our clinics, and full insurance, lots of good shit.
Awesome. Okay, anything you want to plug, Kelly, before we sign off? Your podcast?
Yeah, come on over and listen to Slamfire Radio. It's a hoot. We're live every week on Thursday nights at 7 Eastern Daylight now. I guess we're in daylight still. Daylight time. You can find us on Facebook, and you can find us on everything that you listen to, basically, as well as YouTube. So come on over and, watch or listen to Slamfire.
Awesome. And give me the link. Give me the Mapleseed link. I'll put those in
cool.
when I put these episodes up.
Yep.
Travis, any shout outs you want to give to your rock quarry?
No, just want to try to encourage as many people to get out shooting as we can, right? That's our goal. Is number one, be safe, and number two, have fun. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Dave, you gonna clean your room?
No, fuck no. Only my parents make me.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us. And the plan is we're gonna do this again in about 14 days. All right, so I'm going to log off, girl and boys, and then stay on the line here. We'll talk a little bit more. And thank you very much for listening and for chiming in to our guests.